The most valuable asset in a multi-billion-dollar gaming empire is not the lead programmer. It is not the engine designer or the lead character artist. It is a single classical composer. This man figured out the exact musical frequency to manipulate consumer emotions. His music blocks your brain's lost triggers and lowers your spending friction. He creates an environmental soundscape that keeps you hooked on daily gameplay loops. His soundtracks helped Genshin Impact cross $6 billion in mobile revenue. His name is Yu-Peng Chen. For years, he was the secret weapon inside the music division called HOYO-MiX. But on September 12th, 2023, he did something that shocked the tech industry. He published a sudden announcement on Sina Weibo and Bilibili. He was walking away from the most lucrative soundtrack gig on Earth. The news triggered immediate panic across global gaming spaces. Players noticed his name was missing from the version 4.0 Fontaine expansion. MiHoYo immediately elevated a composer named Yuan Dimeng to take his place. Analysts wondered why anyone would leave a $24 billion pipeline. But here is the counterintuitive truth of the modern media industry. A live service game corporate job is actually a creative trap for a genius. Yu-Peng Chen walked away to take on the global classical music establishment. He wanted to conquer the music world entirely on his own terms. This is the story of a man who walked away from a billion-dollar corporate gig. Yu-Peng Chen started his musical journey by studying the clarinet at Shenzhen Art School. A teacher named Zhu Zongze noticed his rare gift for creating original melodies. The instructor urged him to change his major entirely to musical composition. He later entered the prestigious Shanghai Conservatory of Music to advance his skills. He joined the new music engineering department to master digital music production technology. He learned advanced structural workflows from mentors like Andong and Shinji Tanimura. After graduating, he quickly built a reputation, scoring major films and television shows. In 2009, he officially founded his own private production studio called Yinshu Culture. He scored big cinematic blockbusters like The Last Tycoon and The Chinese Pilot. His sweeping orchestral work earned him massive respect across the traditional film industry. But a massive shift in global entertainment capital was happening right under his feet. The booming video game market was pulling in far more cash than legacy cinema. Here is the counterintuitive truth about his early commercial career choice. Traditional movie directors treated music as a rigid slave to fixed visual scene cuts, but video games offered massive interactive spaces where music could actively drive the action. This key realization prepared him for the most explosive tech partnership of his life. In 2019, Chen joined forces with a rising Chinese tech startup named MiHoYo. He became the primary creative lead behind their highly integrated music division, HOYO-MiX. To build Genshin Impact, Chen poured his entire musical soul into the orchestration. He turned the studio into a massive, multi-million-dollar global recording network. He traveled across 3 continents to record his melodies with world-class symphonic ensembles. He hired the London Philharmonic Orchestra to record at AIR Studios under Robert Ziegler. On June 19th, 2020, they released the debut album The Wind and the Star Traveler. On November 6th, 2020, he dropped the massive 3-disc set, Jade Moon, Upon a Sea of Clouds. He brought the Shanghai Symphony Orchestra into Shanghai Symphony Hall under conductor Zhang Jiemin. He seamlessly blended traditional Chinese folk flutes, like the xiao, directly into Western strings. In September 2021, they launched the album Realm of Tranquil Eternity for Inazuma. He flew to Japan to record with the Tokyo Philharmonic under Harifumi Kurita. He brought in Kasumi Watanabe for the koto and the legendary Kodo Taiko ensemble. Fans loved his work so much, they literally called him the Music Archon. But implementing these massive cross-cultural tracks required an incredible software mechanism. MiHoYo coded his master compositions using a specialized audio engine called Audio Kinetic WYs. The engine uses a dynamic process known as vertical re-orchestration. Exploration themes and high-intensity battle tracks are composed with identical tempos and keys. When you explore, Wise only plays a sparse solo piano or folk flute. When an enemy attacks, a real-time software trigger instantly activates the full arrangement. The engine unmutes, driving taiko drums and fast violin ostinatos in perfect rhythm. The main melody never stops or cuts away during this transition. This seamless audio trick completely locks your brain inside the virtual environment. There is a deep, counterintuitive economic reason behind this beautiful symphonic engineering. Long, repetitive hours of resource farming cause severe player stress and mental fatigue. High stress automatically triggers a human being's conservative, risk-avoidance instincts. But Chen used warm, romantic harmonies to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. The gorgeous melodies lower your cortisol levels and erase your physical tension. By keeping you relaxed, the soundtrack quietly wipes away your premium transaction friction. You enter the gacha storefront feeling completely happy and ready to spend real cash. This massive wave of player obsession wasn't just a casual fandom phenomenon, it triggered a total sweep of the global music establishment. Long before his time at MiHoYo, Chen was already carving out a legacy, picking up a nomination at the 2013 Hong Kong Film Awards for his work on The Last Tycoon. In 2018, his cinematic orchestration for the historical blockbuster The Founding of an Army clinched the prestigious Golden Deer Award for Best Original Music Score. That same period saw his concert work, The Curse of Blood, earn an international nomination for the Sabam Award for Best Original Composition by a young composer at the 2019 World Soundtrack Awards. But when Genshin Impact dropped in 2020, the critical floodgates burst completely open. The international industry took notice instantly, honoring him as the winner of the Outstanding Artist, Newcomer/Breakthrough category at the 2020 Annual Game Music Awards. Domestically, he clean swept the landscape, taking home both the Big C Award for Excellent Game Music of the Year and the CGIAC Award for Excellent Game Music. When the massive 3-disc set Jade Moon Upon a Sea of Clouds debuted, the classical elite recognized the structural brilliance of his cross-cultural fusion. The album went on to win the highly coveted CMIC Music Award for Best Score Soundtrack for Video Game in 2021. Even global console giant Sony pushed his work into the spotlight with a nomination for the prestigious PlayStation Game Music Award. Crucially, his critical winning streak didn't freeze when he walked away from the corporate safety net of MiHoYo to build a solo career. In 2025, his classical work, Waltz of the Fireflies, scored first prize in the chamber music composition section of the Four Seasons Vienna International Musician Competition. That same year, his independent project scoring NetEase's Justice won a World Artistry Music Award for film/game music, walking away with the top prize. These accolades reveal the core economic mechanism driving his immense private asset value. To massive technology publishers, an award is not just a trophy or a decorative plaque to hang in a corporate lobby. It is a permanent validation of high art prestige that completely decouples an artist's personal brand from the life cycle of any single software platform. The continuous critical acclaim turned Yu-Peng Chen from a replaceable corporate employee into a completely bulletproof global intellectual property asset. To mark his 40th birthday, Chen decided to reclaim his creative freedom. On September 12, 2023, he officially resigned from the massive gaming company. He declared that he wanted to bid farewell to his corporate past. He stepped away from game development loops to build a solo career. In July 2024, he independently produced a symphonic suite album called Fantasyland. He funded the recording at Abbey Road Studios with the London Philharmonic. The music featured no boundaries, mixing cellos with traditional folk instruments. Chen sat at the bench to perform the solo acoustic piano lines himself. In July 2025, his bold independent gamble paid off in a historic way. He signed an exclusive deal with the legendary label Deutsche Grammophon. He became the first Chinese composer in history to join their ranks. On November 7th, 2025, he released the deluxe edition of his album Fantasyland. On January 16th, 2026, he dropped Cyandew and Yellow Shore for solo piano. On April 24th, 2026, he followed Cyandew and Yellow Shore with an EP called A Day in Sketches. Then, in that same month of April 2026, Universal Music Publishing Group signed him worldwide. They took over his entire past catalog and all future compositions. This structural move completely altered the financial mechanics of his intellectual property. Most video game publishers use standard work-for-hire contracts to strip a composer's master rights. This setup ensures the corporation hoards all the underlying music publishing royalties forever, but his new deals decouple his personal asset value from regional technology publishers. Now his private catalog generates mechanical royalties and live synchronization fees directly worldwide. Walking away from a $24 billion game publisher looks like absolute career madness. But here is the truth of the modern media industry. Inside a software monopoly, music is just a mechanical asset designed for customer retention. Monetization designers tell you exactly how to build every single looping audio note, but legacy classical partnerships grant an artist complete, uncompromised autonomy over their work. He traded a volatile tech platform lifecycle for permanent, global, high art prestige. Rival technology giants immediately recognized his massive personal brand value. NetEase moved fast to weaponize his independence against his old employers. On September 16th, 2024, they launched a brand named Nishui Changqin. They appointed Chen as the creative leader to build traditional Chinese music landscapes. Through his private studio, Yinshu Culture, he controlled the entire production pipeline. On October 30th, 2024, he dropped the soundtrack for Justice Online. Then, on May 19th, 2025, he scored a major expansion for Where Winds Meet. He blended sorrowful military drums to capture the historic Silk Road atmosphere. He released another major expansion score named Wuyulizan on August 29th, 2025. NetEase used his name as a direct marketing weapon to poach sensitive players. But Chen was no longer a corporate pawn trapped in a single cage. He used the fierce corporate bidding war to maximize his private asset value. Here is the deep, counterintuitive truth about his ultimate victory. By leaving his job, he actually became more powerful than the tech monopolies themselves. He used their massive platforms to make his name globally famous. Then he took his private music rights and forced them to bid for his services. He completely rewrote the classic balance of power between creative talent and massive publishers. The little boy from Changsha successfully engineered absolute creative and financial freedom. If you enjoyed this video, then please be sure to subscribe. It supports the channel a ton. Thank you, and see you in the next video.